Hello, this is Kay from essentialkorean.com. 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다, 여러분. In today's episode, you will learn how to get someone's attention in Korean. The expressions you learn today will come in handy when you travel in Korea, like at restaurants, crowded markets, theaters, and when you want to ask for directions on the street. Then, in the second part of today's lesson, we will learn how to ask for something in the simplest form possible. Are you ready? Let's get started. Imagine yourself in Seoul going around for sightseeing. After fulfilling your AM plan, it's time for lunch. You are at a restaurant waiting for a server to take your order, but everyone seems to be too busy to notice your table. You can say this to get one of the server's attention. 여기요. 여기 means here, and the 요 marks politeness. 여기요 literally means here please, and functionally it directs someone's attention to you. It's spelled 여, 기, 요, but colloquially people say 여기요, 여 rather than 요 at the end. So 여기요 rather than 여기요 to sound more natural. Repeat after me. 여기요, 여기요, 여기요. Please note that people might also elongate the 요 or 여 at the end to get attention for sure. 여기요, 여기요, 여기요. Now, thanks to 여기요, you were able to order and had your lunch. Time to pay before heading out to get on with your afternoon plan. By the way, one useful tip here. Don't wait for your server to come to your table to take your payment. In most restaurants in Korea, when patrons are done eating, the patrons themselves take the receipt that their server leaves at the table and proceed to the cashier, usually near the entrance door, and pay there. Okay, back to our restaurant. With your receipt, you proceed to the cashier, but no one's there. All the restaurant people are busy serving their lunch crowd. No worries though. 여기요 is here. You say 여기요 to get someone's attention and have them come so you can pay. One more cultural note. There is a food delivery app called Yogiyo in Korea, which merged with what used to be the biggest food delivery app, 배달의 민족, also known as 배민, in a $4 billion deal in 2019. Yogiyo is a very catchy and clever name for a delivery app because, one, yogi is a variation of the word 여기 with a small, cute feel to the word. And two, as we've just learned, 여기요 is a phrase used to get servers' attention at places serving foods. And three, the word yogi is a homonym, which can also mean snack in Korean. Back to our situation. Have we left the restaurant? No, not quite yet. After paying, you walk towards the door and see a few people talking in front of the door. What would you say in English in this situation where you need to get people's attention and make your way out? Excuse me, right? The Korean equivalent of excuse me is 실례합니다. 실례 refers to a behavior or an act that is considered rude or bad-mannered. And 합니다 is the formal polite form of the verb 하다, which means to do. So 실례 and 합니다 together gives the literal meaning I'm being bad-mannered. But of course, Koreans functionally use this in situations where you use the English phrase excuse me for an act that can inconvenience others. Repeat after me. I'll do the back build-up. 합니다. 실례합니다. 합니다. 실례합니다. 합니다. 실례합니다. 실례합니다. Please note that you should not equate the use of 실례합니다 with all uses of excuse me though. Here's a good example of what I mean. In English, we say excuse me when you didn't understand what the other person just said. In this situation, excuse me basically means, what did you say? Can you say what you just said again? On the other hand, 실례합니다 is not a phrase to use when you want the other person to repeat what he or she just said. This is another reminder that it's best to learn these ritual expressions in terms of their functions and the purpose they serve, and use the literal meaning for a reference only. Back to our situation again. After getting out of the restaurant, imagine taking the subway to get to your next destination. You are on the subway and want to get closer to the door to get ready to get off. How would you get through the crowd? Yes, say 실례합니다. But there's one other phrase you can use in place of 실례합니다. It's 잠시만요. 잠시 means a short while. 만 is a particle which means only. And the 요 at the end, just like the 요 in 여기요, marks politeness of the utterance. 잠시 and 만 and 요 together literally means just a moment please, functionally used to get people's attention, like the other phrase 실례합니다. Repeat after me. 잠시만요. 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 After getting off from the subway, you realize you need some help with directions. Looking around, you spot friendly and trustworthy looking people coming towards you. How would you approach them? Yes, you can say 실례합니다. Besides 실례합니다 and 잠시만요, there is one more expression you can also use. 저기요. We learned 여기요, which literally means here please. Change the first syllable 여 to 저 and you get 저기요. Recall that 여기 means here. Now 저기, on the other hand, refers to a place distant from both the speaker and the listener. And the 요 marks politeness. Although the literal meaning of this phrase is over there please, functionally it is used as a hesitant marker and serves the purpose of avoiding abruptness when used in a situation where you need someone's attention. Repeat after me. 저기요. 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 If you want to appear less intrusive, consider using 저기요 rather than 여기요. So when you approach a stranger and have to ask something, you can get their attention in one of the following ways. 실례합니다. 저기요. 저기요, 실례합니다. After receiving the directions from the passersby, you would thank them with 고맙습니다 or 감사합니다. After a few more stops at different places, you enter a cafe for a break. How would you get the server's attention if they're not coming to take your order? That's right. 여기요. The server comes to your table and asks what you would like. Now, as I promised earlier, here comes the simplest form possible you can use to ask for something. Let's just say the drink you want is iced Americano. You would say, 아이스 아메리카노요, simply adding yo to your selection. You are at a restaurant and would like spaghetti. Add yo to spaghetti and say, spaghettio. You are at a Korean restaurant and would like bibimbap. Add 요 to bibimbap and say bibimbap요. After re-energizing yourself with some caffeine, you are ready for your next destination, 경복 Palace or 경복궁. You decided to take a taxi. When you get in the taxi, you tell the driver 경복궁요, and they would know where to go. On a side note, the admission to 경복궁 is free if you're wearing hanbok, Korean traditional clothing. Besides not having to pay, it's a fun cultural experience to spend a few hours at the royal palace dressed in hanbok. A number of popular tourist attractions are nearby 경복궁. 한복 rental shops, 북촌 한옥마을 or 북촌 village of Korean traditional houses, 국립현대미술관 or the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art, and 인사동, to name a few. A lesser known spot, but one of my personal favorites in the vicinity, is the cool annex structure of the Arario Museum in Space. If you want to go Myeongdong, which is one of the busiest shopping districts in Seoul, and don't feel like taking the subway, hop in a taxi and say to the driver, 명동요. If you want to conclude your day with a spectacular panoramic night view of Seoul, I recommend Namsan Tower, or also known as the N Seoul Tower. Taxis cannot go to the top of the hill where Namsan Tower is located on, so walking, cable car, and buses are your best options. There's no need to call a taxi and say Namsan Tower요. Okay, your action-filled day in Seoul is over. Let's check out how well you remember the new phrases in the form of a quiz. Question number 1. You are at a restaurant and would like more napkins. How would you get the attention of the waiter who is not looking at your way? Yes, 여기요 will get you his attention. Question number 2. You would like to ask someone to take a photo of you with the panoramic view of Seoul at Namsan Tower. How would you approach a person and get his attention? You are right if you said 저기요 or 저기요 실례합니다. As mentioned before, 저기요 can be used to avoid sounding abrupt and get the person's attention. Question number 3. You are at a movie theater with a bucket of popcorn and a drink in your hand, and you need to get to your seat in the middle of the row. What would you say to nudge the people who are seated in the row so you can pass by? You are correct if you said 실례합니다 or 잠시만요. Question number 4. You are at a cafe in Seoul and have decided on a tea to try. On a side note, I would like to introduce a few options that are not easily found outside Korea. 유자차, 율무차, 대추차. How would you order your tea? Whatever your choice was, you should have added 요 to it. 유자차요, 율무차요, 대추차요. Great, we're done with the quiz. To sum up, in this episode, you learned in what situations you can use expressions 여기요, 저기요, 실례합니다, 잠시만요, and noun plus yo. Please think about these phrases whenever the situation calls for them. By the way, if you ever become discouraged by the daunting task of learning a new language, or feeling skeptical now and then about what good these short phrases could do, I would say, please don't. Even if you have to rely on English after using these simple ritual expressions just to start a conversation, your attempt to communicate with the people in their language will be greatly appreciated by native speakers, and in turn will help you better connect with the culture and the people. If nothing else, you still have fun trying out a new language in action. Okay, that's it for this episode. I look forward to connecting with you again next week. 안녕히 계세요. 고맙습니다.